Hello, this is the second video for section 4.3, and this is actually where we're going to talk about percent of increase and decrease, which is kind of titled that, but there are other problems included, as you know, from the first video. So this is how we find the percent of increase and decrease. There is one other way. I don't really teach that way. I feel like this is really the simplest, and they take about the same number of steps. The problem is many of my students don't learn how to find the percent of increase and decrease. And notice the two formulas are very much alike. You find the amount of the increase or of the decrease, and then you divide that by the original amount. And it really is that simple every time. You can use the circle on these if you would like to, but it's not necessary. I think I'm just going to show these without the circle. The portion is always the amount of the increase, right? Whatever that would be. So we're just going to work through this and I'll show you how to use the formulas. Okay, the population of a town increased from 14,582 last year to 15,438 this year. What is the percent increase? And you guys, this is a very simple formula. Please learn how to do this. Don't miss these problems because you didn't take the time to actually learn the formulas. So we're going to take the 15,348 and subtract 14,582. This will be the amount of the increase in this case, right? Because it increased. So when I subtract, I get 856 amount of increase. And then we take that number and we divide it by the original amount. So the original amount means the number we had first. In this case, the population of the town increased from 14,582 to 15,438. So this is my original amount, right here, right? The 14,582 is the original, and we divide by that, and that will give us a decimal number that we then convert to a percent. I didn't say on these, but we'll go ahead and round those to the nearest tenth of a percent on this one. I may change that on some of the others. Oh no, I did say it right here. Round to the nearest tenth of a percent. I have it there. I just didn't have it at the top. Okay, so we have this number, 0.00587. And so as a percent, that will be 5.9. So the percent of the increase was 5.9%, right? It increased a very small amount, 856 overall, and that's how we find that percent. So find the difference, divide by the original. That's really it, whether it's increase or decrease. Okay. During the year, the population for a small town decreased. Okay, this one's decreased, but the process is the same, from 504 to 438. What is the percent decrease? All right, so let's take a look at this. So first, we have to subtract, right? So 504 minus 438. And that number gives us a 66. And then we take 66 and divide it by the original number. And that would be the number before the decrease, right? Here's my original, 504. So 66, sorry, I can't seem to write a division symbol. 66 divided by 504. And that would be 0.13095. And we're going to round that to the nearest tenth of a percent. And in this case, that would be 13 point. Notice this is where we're going to look on what number goes after the decimal. The nearest tenth of a percent would be 13.1%. Okay. Okay, so you have your utility bill set up to pay the same amount each month. Last year you paid $138 per month. Now you need to start paying $161 per month. What is the percent increase? And we're rounding once again to the nearest tenth of a percent. So we take the 161 and subtract 138, which leaves us with 23. Then 23 divided by the original amount, right? Divide by the original, and in this case the original was 138 because it increased from 138 to 161. And that would be, oh, it's a repeating decimal, so it's 0.16, and the 6 is repeating. Excuse me. And that means that it's 16.666, and so on, right? And it just keeps going, and that would be our percent. So it would be 16.7%. And that's how that one works. All right, that's it. So you see, this is very repetitious, but you have to learn it, right? You just have to figure this out, okay? All right, so if your gross pay is $2,100 per month and your take-home pay is $1,512, what percent of your gross pay is withheld? Hint. Find the percent of decrease, right? So you know your gross pay and your net pay. Your take-home pay, remember, is your net pay. So we actually calculate this the same way we have been doing with increase and decrease. So we take 2,100 and subtract 1,512, and that leaves us with $588. And then we take the 588 and divide by the original number. In this case, that would be your gross pay, right? Your original amount is how much you earn, and then your take-home pay would be after that original amount, right? So 588 divided by 2,100, and that would be 0.28, which is 28%, right? And so that is what you end up with there. Okay, I'm looking at some of my other examples. Just a moment. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and work a couple more of these. Now, this one is not necessarily an increase or decrease problem. This one is about getting a raise. Your boss promises you an 8% raise in 90 days. If you currently earn $12.85 per hour, what will your hourly rate be in 90 days? So basically, we're saying we're going to get an 8% raise, and you earn $12.85, and so we simply take $12.85 times 0.08, right? 8% in decimal form is 0.08, and that leaves us with 1.028. Now this is dollars and cents, so we want to round that to 1.03. And it says, what will your hourly rate be in 90 days? So a lot of times there's that 90-day kind of trial period when you start a job, and so then you take your $12.85 and add it to the 103, and that's going to be how much you make per hour after you get your raise. And that would be $13.88. These are just a few different kinds of problems here. This is another one like we did before. If your gross pay is $1,500 per month and your take-home pay is $11.93, what percent of your gross pay is withheld? So that's actually a little bit of a different question than the one that we did where we were doing percent of increase or decrease. But it works out in a similar way, right? What percent of your gross pay is withheld? So we still have to find the difference. The wording is really just different. The process is the same. So we subtract and get 307. And then we're going to take 307 and divide it by your gross pay amount, which is $1,500. So this really is just about a percent, right, of decrease. How much did your take-home pay decrease from your gross pay, basically? What percent was that? So we divide by the 1,500, and we get 0.28%. my 0 looked a little crazy. 0.2046, which would be 20.5% rounded to the nearest tenth, right? We're going to have to look at that number because we moved the decimal 2 places first, and then that's how we round it. Okay. You work for a manufacturing company that decides to introduce a new product. If your company offers retailers a 20% discount off list price, what should the list price be to ensure that your company nets $950? You guys know that you should sometimes read these problems 2 or 3 times, right? You get a 20% discount off of this, okay? So I'm going to set this up in the circle this time. Let's see if I can make a circle here. I had a little extra dot there. And then I'll put a line here and here, right? So portion, base, and rate. Okay, so my portion is actually the 950, right? Because you want your list, you want the list price to ensure that your company nets 950. So 950 is actually the portion, right? Because it's the net amount, and you're looking for a bigger number, right? What should my list price be? And now the 20% is the discount, but you need 80%, right? 80% of your list price will be 950, if that makes sense. So when we work this out, we take 950 divided by 0.8. We're going to always change that to the decimal. And so our list price should be $1,187.50. Okay, so here's how this works. If I took 80% of $1,187.50, that's the 950. So you can always go back, read through it again, think through it, and calculate. Alright, so this video is getting a little bit long, but I only have one more question and I don't want to stop and start another one. What is the percent increase? You live in a fast-growing subdivision with new homes being built on a regular basis. Last year, the population was 527 people. This year, the population has increased to 945 people. What is the percent increase? And that is a pretty large percent this time because the increase was quite a few. So we take 945. Remember, we subtract first and find the amount of the increase in this case, which was 418. And then we divide that by the original number of people. The original population was 527. And so that gives us 0.7931, which is 79.3% when I round it to the nearest tenth of a percent. Find the difference, divide by the original amount, right? In this case, it was the original population. All right, that's the end of this video. It's a little bit long, and the end of section 4.3.